to the Tough Fish Show. I am so excited to bring to you Tami Matheny. Tami, thank you so much for being on the show.
Well, Jen, thank you for having me. I've been looking forward to this opportunity to share with you and your listeners.
I am so glad you're here, and I would love for you to start with how'd you get into writing?
Oh, Jen, it's a journey full of twists and turns, that's for sure. Growing up in school, I made really good grades on anything but writing. I would get a paper back, it would say, great content, Tammy, but you really got to work on your writing. And so I just developed that stereotype that I can't write.
Mhm.
And my senior year in English, we had a snow day, and I was like, okay, I have a lot of extra time. I'm going to knock this book report out of the water. And I worked on it, and I was so proud of it. Couldn't wait to turn it in, and kept waiting eagerly every day to get the score back. And finally, the teacher hands it back to me with a big red F, and it said, "Too good to be yours." So
Oh,
basically, but
oh,
my immature brain at that time was not able to take the message. I knew I had done the work and I know I had written it, but I let her steer my brain to continuing that myth that I couldn't write. But basically, she was telling me it was good. It was, that her opinion of me wasn't good. Um,
oh.
I ended up not getting the F, though. I had the principal came to my rescue there. But still, that really stuck with me for years because I had put so much effort into it. And I was just like, well, I can't write. So then I become this speaker and mental game coach. And I'm in front of hundreds of people on a stage or in front of teams. And they were like, you need to have a blog or a book, like something written. So when you're not here, and to spread the word about you. No, I don't write. It was just, easy just to say that. So one day I was working with a soccer coach in Iowa, and he had said, "You need a book." And I had given my typical answer, "No, I don't write." And he said, "Huh, why would I want my team to work with you if you're not willing to get out of your comfort zone?" And it was one of those aha moments like, okay, all right, challenge accepted.
Good.
Yeah, but I was going to take the easy way out. He said, "You've got such good content. You give me the material and I'll write it." Look, that's perfect. That's the best relationship. Well, he ended up getting another job and he did not have time to do the writing. So I threw a pity party. Well, there goes my chance to ever, be somewhat of a writer. I had another friend challenge me and she was like, huh, so you're just going to easily accept no. Again, I'm going to go with what Brian told you. Why would I want to hire you? I was like, gosh, that just seems to be a common theme. So I have to do this for myself. So I started recording myself talking because it's easy for me to talk, but to put those words on paper was where I really had that disconnect. And so I started recording myself and I was like, okay, what's something I can just talk about without planning, preparing? And that's confidence, how to develop confidence. Yet I didn't have the confidence in writing. So kind of ironic there. And so I just would take notes from my listening to myself talk. And slowly but surely, the first book came together. And then it kind of became contagious. What else can I write about or put on paper? So that's kind of my journey. It's ongoing. I still don't consider myself an author per se.
Oh,
Um, but yeah, I've made peace with it of writing.
I love this story very much. So, so much because I don't know how many of our listeners have faced something similar where they heard, hey, you can't write, and they had to overcome it, or they've gotten feedback as they have been working on their manuscript or having a book published and getting a negative review or what have you, or a review that didn't feel good to them. And then trying to remedy that in their minds of going, is this a reflection upon me or is this their opinion? And how do I work through that? So I really like the fact that you saw that and you had to overcome it through being challenged for yourself. And so what would you say to a writer who is feeling a little challenged in that way of going, okay, but you did it, Tammy, I get it, but how am I supposed to overcome it when I keep seeing these reviews I don't really like, or, you know, I'm struggling with this one section in my book and I'm just in my head thinking, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. Maybe I'm not supposed to write this story. What would you say to them?
As far as the bad reviews or people telling them they can't, or themselves telling themselves they can't, to me, that goes back to the foundation of what I teach about confidence. And our world starts with our thoughts. Our thoughts create our reality. And too often we build our confidence on results and other people's feedback. So my goal when I committed to writing the book, I am not going to worry about results. I'm not going to look at book sales every single day. And I'm not going to worry about what reviews because I knew my why, the bigger reason of why I was writing that book. So that's beside your self talk, really know why you're writing it. What's the bigger picture? And my bigger picture was to prove myself I could. And I didn't put anything to if I don't care if I sell a book. I'm going to show myself I can write. So I stayed true to my why. And then back to the self talk of I had to say every single day, I'm a big believer in affirmations. And I just said, I am a writer. I am a writer. And there were days I didn't feel like it, but I would say, I am a writer. I also created a visual of what I wanted my book cover to look like. And I used that to look at every day to kind of motivate me. And those days I didn't feel like writing to kind of push myself to do that. So those would be a few tips, but it was really a battle with the self-talk. Um, but I like to tell my clients we can talk to ourselves or listen to ourselves. And too often we listen and hear the you're not good enough or you can't do this or you've got a writer's block. And our brain has an ego. So when you have those thoughts, it wants to prove to you that you're right. So if I'm saying I do have a writer's block, I'm not getting out of that till I start to change that narrative in my head.
I love that so much. I'm over here like, love language. This is awesome. I love this stuff. But I really do. I agree wholeheartedly with you that the power of your words and what you say about yourself matters. Like your words, what you say in your own voice to yourself matters the most. So I love that you have said that. And to your point about a cover, especially if you have the concept of that idea in mind, go reach out to that book designer that you might want to work with and say, could you show me a cover? Even if the cover does change a little further down, if it's enough to get you moving, to see it come to life and feel a little more real to you, how cool is that to be able to, like to your point, use it as a visual to work towards? I think that's fantastic. And so one of the things you mentioned that you do, which I do too, is voice my story sometimes. So all of the books that I've authored, especially my most recent one, I would voice into my phone first, and I with my picture books, they all just kind of were like downloads. It literally was voicing and I worked with them and they were fairly done because they were short and sweet type of thing. But the other books, the other two books, I would voice and I would have to put them aside and then go work with them and then come back and type and work on the computer with it. But sometimes the idea would hit me when I'm doing anything other than sitting at my computer going to write. Like I'm at the grocery store or I'm on my way to something and I'd have to pull over to voice into my phone because I really wanted to capture it. And at least it was something to work with. That blinking blank cursor kind of thing when you have a blank page and that cursor is just like, hello, I'm blinking. I'm blinking. You're going to do something about me. It can sort of feel a little like, I'm not sure what I want to put. And you could put some pressure on yourself. But if you voice it, even if you voice it and it looks like garbly-gook, you can go back and clean it up and that starts to get those juices going. Is that what you found helped you to kind of break through in a different way, or did something else happen when you were voicing?
Both. That definitely helped me just start to get things down. And what, I have a lot. I've tried to play it forward and help other authors like, hey, give me some tips, Tammy, and walking some friends through books. And I'm like, just put something down on the computer. It doesn't even have to make sense right now. Or talk to yourself in audio and just start typing what you were saying. And then new ideas will come. you can go back and clean it up later, like you mentioned. But the second thing that I found very helpful, I'm very, very old school. Um, my calendar is still written calendar. If I write something down, there's more power to me to that than typing it in my phone or computer. So I went through, I killed a lot of trees, but I went through a lot of notebook paper of writing it down, and it took more time, but I found my juices flowed a lot more if I could just write. So that was the second thing that I did. Some people laugh at me when they say that, tell me to join the new generation of technology, but that worked for me.
No, I agree though. And sometimes even changing your location. Take that journal, take that notebook, go have lunch someplace else that day, or go to a coffee shop, or go somewhere else and just change your scenery. Sometimes helps because, you know, you've made a deliberate choice to do something different. So maybe that might get those ideas coming in a little differently. And and to your point, just writing something, at least it gets you starting. Even if you're journaling, I have no idea what to write, period. These ideas are not coming to me, period. This has nothing to do with what I was going to write about, period. But you're writing something that is eventually going to click. And even if it doesn't, you still showed up. Would you agree?
Yes, yes. And that would be another suggestion I would say of show up. It's like anything else in life. If I have a job and I'm supposed to be there at 9, I show up at 9 or a few minutes early. If I'm planning to work out, I show up at the time I said I was going to work out. So at least I'm regimen like that. So it was like, okay, today from 9 to 10, I'm sitting down to write. And so planning ahead of time of this is my right, because if I waited, oh, I'll get to that in between free time or space, 9 times out of 10, it didn't happen. So I think that showing up part, you develop confidence just by showing up. And then you're taking action. And so sometimes that can be enough to get over that block that's in your way. So I didn't even
Yeah.
think about that till you said that, but that was an action that I did take of scheduling and just show up. And if
Well, and
I were, one page, it was like, I made progress today. And I
yes.
celebrated the small wins.
Yes, yes, I am a big believer in that. Celebrate the progress, celebrate the wins. And I mean, I get teased about it because I'm like, did you celebrate about that? And they're like, Jen, it was just this. I'm like, no, no. I
That
think you should celebrate it because you did something brave and courageous. And courageous is you getting out of your comfort zone. And to your point about confidence, it doesn't happen because you say, well, I'm confident today. Well, that's fantastic. It actually happens because you showed up and you did something out of your comfort zone and you built up the stamina, which said, I think I could do that again. Oh, wait, the next step is courage. So I got to go be courageous a little bit and then go do it again. Because to your point, when you were speaking, and I would love for you to talk a little bit about that too, when you're speaking in front of groups, whether it's a coffee shop size of 30 people in a workshop or on a stage of hundreds or even thousands in there, you know, you built up courage and stamina and confidence to be able to do that. So, what would you advise an author who is recognizing that they want to do more of that in their business? Maybe they want to teach a workshop, maybe they want to do more speaking engagements or podcasting or what have you, and that makes them nervous. How would you guide them there?
Well, it starts with the self-talk. If I think I'm nervous, then your thoughts start to overwhelm and oh my gosh, what if I mess up? Or what if I say something stupid? Or what if I fall flat on my face? And we can really work ourselves into a frenzy with all of the what ifs. So I like to say, talk, again, talk back to yourself. What do you have to lose? Or change the tone of, okay, well, what if? It goes really well. What if I start another side business because my workshop is so great? And that tone or changing what we're saying really shifts your brain and what you're focused on. So now, then you take action. To me, confidence is an action. It's not an emotion, it's an action.
I
It's
love
not
that.
that we feel confident. People like to say that, but you're confident by taking action.
Yeah.
So you have the talk, you take the action. The third step that I would share with that makes it more powerful is then seeing it. It's really hard. It's hard to create a book if you can't see the final product, what you want it to look like. It's hard for me to be confident if I can't see what does the confident me look like. So that's one tool that I have clients do that I think is great for writers as well. Write down what the confident you looks like. Describe that person as much detail. And I start my morning out by imagining that. And,
Mhm.
you know, I had a young lady, she was in high school, and she said, that sounds kind of cheesy. I was like, it might be cheesy, but it's pretty powerful. I like imagining what I look like at my best self. Um,
I agree with you. In fact, when I work with my clients, I do the same thing because I want you to envision what that feels like, because when you do, you start to take steps to become that, even if it's not a direct step. It's not a direct, oh well, I can just go whoop right there. No, you're gonna need to take some smaller steps, and it might be a little sideways, and it might be a backward step that you might feel, but you're still moving forward towards that. And you know, so what I love about what you also said was the what if this happened? So for instance, what if you did flub on stage? What if you did, accidentally, you know, lose your train of thought? What would you tell them to do?
um, what if, and I'm going to change it to, what if I turn this into a positive? The latest book, and I think you've had Jeff, my co-author, on here,
Mhm.
Challenger Deep. And near the final days, we were supposed to release on a certain day, and we had a lot of adversity that came our way.
Oh.
And, we were like, what are we going to do? Tell people we've been having this release date. We can't release it. And I just started laughing, and I said, who expected us to write a book called Challenger Deep and not have challenges? Let's spin this to help promote it in a better way. Um,
Love that.
and it really caught a lot of traction. Yeah, I think people on social media, like, they saw that post more than just, hey, our book's releasing. Um, but I do that, my background is in athletics, so you have a lot of failure if you're an athlete, and it's the athletes that can handle that failure and turn it into a lesson instead of, oh my gosh, I messed up.
Mhm.
And so I think that has helped carry me if I've been on stage and I like say a word wrong.
Mhm.
I will make fun of myself
Mhm.
and show them, confidence doesn't mean you're always going to have success. It means you're going to be okay when you
Mhm.
don't, and you can bounce back quicker. Technology has gone haywire on me with a webinar. It hasn't for all of us. Well, okay, how can you get creative and deal with it and turn it into something productive or positive? And I,
Yeah.
I think that is a big misconception. Once someone runs into a roadblock, oh, that means I'm not supposed to do this. Or instead of, adversity is there to show you how bad you want something and how capable you really are. So I kind of got long-winded on that, Jen,
No.
but I think it's okay if I do fail, what I learn from it, and how do I move forward? And I think
Yes.
people really resonate with people that can admit their failures or I made a mistake. You develop more intimacy with your group and your clients when you can show them, I'm learning this as well, or I'm
Yes.
trying to put this into action every day.
Yes. I just did a speaking engagement a few weeks ago at the time of this recording, and it was the first time the way I got mic'd. I didn't know how to do the little doomaflachi, and the jacket I had was like looped attached to it in a great way. I mean, my friend who hooked me up was great. She definitely helped me get it in the right spots, and then I realized I'm not sure what button I'm supposed to hit. And it's also at the back, which means if I try to move it to the side, it's not going to slide the way this belt loop was on the jacket. I went, I'm gonna need help being turned on. Okay. So I literally went up and I was like grabbing her and looked at the audience and went, hi, she needs to set me up. Sorry. They just started laughing. I'm like, but it was the humanness of it. And I think that when you can laugh at yourself too, because I recognize, yeah, I really don't know what to do with this right now. And I truly need to just be patient and help. And they all just they chuckled, but they also looked at it like, okay, it was also a form of an icebreaker because everybody laughed in a sense, and it kind of took a little edge off. If there was a little bit of nervousness or whatever, it made it a little bit humorous in that way. Like when you're starting out with that chuckle, it makes it a little bit more fun, I guess, in that way. So I looked at them and then at the end it said, and now I will need help being turned back off. So I mean,
I
because
love you brought it back around. That
well,
that that's
I mean,
great.
well, thanks, because I looked at that like it is what it is. I'm not like I don't know how to maneuver this particular thing. And I knew that it was one of those that I was like, yeah, that's going to be, I can see myself just flubbing this or hitting the wrong button and making it worse. So let's just ask for the help.
I love that. That's a great story.
Oh, well,
But
thanks.
it's so true. I mean, and there had to be a handful of people in the audience that have done something similar, and they now can relate to you.
Well, and they might have realized that, or it could also be oh, that was okay to do, or even that I can't believe that happened kind of a thing. But in the same breath, it also might have been very, like you said, I relate to that. I've been in a situation, maybe not that situation, but I've been in something similar where it was like, okay, how do I do this? And, and I think that that's good because when you can do that, you are creating that relationship when you you are a human first and foremost, showing up and wanting to do your best and share your gifts. And I think that that goes back to being brave and courageous too, because I think you're needing to own that you have those gifts and then build the confidence, taking that action to share it. And I think that sometimes we downplay the gifts that we have before we actually we think we need more of them or they're no big deal when if everybody had that same thing, first off, it would be boring. But secondly, then if everybody had the same thing, where else would we grow? We need you to share your gifts. So what would you say to somebody who is, as they're listening, they're kind of going, okay, all right, Tami, you've convinced me. I'm going to take action. I'm going to start setting out more time in my writing, or I'm going to figure out I'm going to get through that murky middle and I'm going to get this, chapter, this section written by X date, and they're going to show up to do the work to make sure they achieve it or they get as close as possible because they're hearing you, they're resonating with what you're saying. What would you say to them if they fall a little short than what they had hoped for?
Um, your self-talk. How do you define that? And I like to compare our self-talk. We're creating a story, a book in our head of our lives, how we narrate the events that happen. So if I fall short, okay, how do I create this? How do I set myself up for a comeback? How do I learn from this so I can apply it next time or help someone else? We're gonna always, and I don't like to use the word fail, like what you
Fair enough.
said, fall short, I think is better. All gonna fall short at some point or another, especially if we have high goals, which we need. So it's really how you narrate what is happening in your life and how can you spin that to where it can fuel you for the next thing that you do? It might not even be the exact same thing. But again, I'm in the sporting realm and Michael Jordan, everybody knows him as hitting all these clutch shots, but he missed more than he hit. But it was like every great athlete, every great author, every great anything had failure or fell short, and that helped them rise to the next occasion. And
Mhm.
without that failure, they may not have learned that skill, that mindset that really helped then elevate them as their career went on. Um,
Yeah.
that's the whole gist of the book that Jeff and I did of how do you take adversity, falling short, things not going your way, and how do you do use that to rise above any challenge that life is throwing at you?
And I love that you two worked together on that. I mean, I love that you two did that. And when Jeff and I chatted, one of the things he shared was that, you know, having the fact that you two had accountability with each other, like we need to have this much done, was really helpful to kind of keep it moving, keep it going. And then, you know, if you didn't have your chapter written or the amount of words written by that period, there was the, okay, I didn't get my part for whatever the reason was, but this is how I can work through that. And I think that what I really took away, a big piece of what I took away, and what I see in my own, with my clients, with my own pieces, is just you need to give yourself some grace. Did you set such a big goal that you got close? And it's like well, okay. And I couldn't foresee some of the other things I had to work through, but I still got so much closer. Heck yeah, I'm going to make this happen. I can do this. I like how you put adversity as it doesn't always have to be that setback as much as it could be that something that's used to say, how much do you really want this? And
Need adversity.
well, how would you identify then the difference between the I'm using it, this is just, is this challenging me enough to say that I really want this versus no, this is, I need to sunset this or I need to stop this. How would you discern the difference?
I think it goes back to, and I mentioned it very at the very beginning, it goes back to what's your why? What is the bigger picture of why you're doing it? And a why that has, power behind it isn't set in results. You that's your goal. You want results, but that can't be your why that can help push you through when we don't get those short-term results that we want. So I think, okay, let me reconnect with my why. What was my ultimate reason for doing this? Not result wise. And if you're true to your why, then the answers are going to come to you about what step you need to take. Your why is like the perfect guidebook for you if you really know why you're doing it. So if I need to sunset something, then that's because I have figured out, okay, I got off track. I'm doing this because I felt like I should because other people are, or because whatever reason. But hey, get back to this is why I want to do something. And that helps you make changes or, again, overcome those short term results. But too often, human nature, we respond negatively to short term results and we
Mhm.
let it take away our why. We let it take away our confidence instead of saying, okay, maybe I'm supposed to learn something so I can take a step ahead.
And to your point, though, even when you're writing a book series, you're writing a fictional series, you know that there's a point where you're going to bring that series to an end, but there was a why that you started that and where you wanted that character to end up and why that mattered. That's going back to that why too, but in a whole different way. So, and and that's a form of sunsetting that series in a sense, but it doesn't feel like that. It feels like a form of completion and that it's done what it was supposed to do. And maybe that's another way to reframe that too, is saying, have you done what you were intending to do to the best of your ability that feels right? And if that's the case, then maybe it's okay because completing something creates space for something new too. And that goes back to that why, because you you can only do but so much. So how are you going to put that energy? And you need space to have that new series or that new book or that new thing you do in your business or what have you. What are your thoughts there?
I couldn't say it any better, Jen. I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head right there. We're not supposed to just stay in the same space all the time. So I do like that. Okay, maybe it is supposed to be sunset. So you can now move on to something different, probably better,
Yeah.
instead of staying in maybe that comfort zone that you've been afraid to just move past. I don't think that's necessarily the same for everyone, but again, it's discerning what's the goal, what's the bigger picture, and trying to be true to that.
Absolutely, Tammy. This has been fantastic. I've loved every moment of this. Where can people connect with you and where can they get your books?
My website is tamimatheny.com. Links to the books are on there. They're also all available on Amazon as well. I love to connect with my readers, with my clients. I love when people reach out. My why is to make a difference in as many lives as possible. So if you have a question for me, please reach out and you can reach me at tammy@tamimatheny.com. That's my email. Pretty visible on social media, Instagram, Tami Matheny Coaching, Twitter, Tami Matheny, and then I have a lot of Facebook groups, like a Challenger Deep one. Now, it was to help promote the book, but I encourage followers to share stories of people overcoming adversity.
That is awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Well, thank you for having me, Jen, and what you do for authors out there. It sounds like you are very true to your why.
Thank you so very much.